Yeah.
And promote the program as much as possible.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think it sounds like it'll be
you can start, hey, Mike, how are you?
pretty easy to get going with this. So, and I returned the box of materials
You return the box of materials.
in upgraded condition.
Wow, I know, I was gonna say, it doesn't look like the old typewriter for the printer paper.
Yeah, the box, it was a little disheveled, but it's good.
It was experience.
It was. It had seen many things.
Well,
Hey,
that's
Mike.
good. So the couple of items that we talked about adding to the events box, the recycling flyers and the
Okay.
information from Eco or from Energy Smart we have. And then SE asked about having flyers for the water efficiency rebate program that the town has.
Mhm.
I don't know if we had the flyer in the past or didn't, but Karen was nice enough to make one for us.
Thank you.
Yes.
So Jeff, you were joking about
I was
color coordinated
very
folders.
serious.
That's awesome. Thank you for taking this on. Wow, and they're collated?
Yeah.
It's super helpful.
That is awesome.
Since having dealt with the old box.
Yes.
It's
I
much
know.
better.
The last time when I had the box at Chili Fest, I was just like, I don't even know where to start. Like, just
Yeah.
start at the top, I guess.
Yeah.
All the other committees are gonna do a great job.
Well, I direct them to the correct aisle at Target.
So for, I guess we can talk a little bit about the event logistics, but for the first event where we'll have this is at Arbor Day.
Yes.
And if I remember correctly, check my notes, I think Lisa, you said you might be available for Arbor Day?
Yeah. I'm gonna be
Which Saturday?
A week from this Saturday.
the 21st. Yeah, I'm gonna do the event this Saturday. And you said you could do the one next Saturday.
Yes, this Saturday I have,
Mm.
cause I need to get my, will they take, rechargeable batteries there, defect?
I don't
You
know.
had Lisa down?
I think we have the list somewhere.
I think I brought them maybe one year and they looked at me, they said no. And I have a whole, 2 bags of CFLs there, that they still work, but we're doing LEDs everywhere, so
Yeah.
can I bring those?
Items
So you're skipping ahead,
accepted.
Lisa, but yeah, we can skip ahead
Yes,
to the event
batteries
logistics.
rechargeable, those are accepted.
Alright,
And,
CFLs?
so, yep, straight tubes and CFLs.
Yeah, the fluorescent light bulbs have to
Yes.
go, are hard to
So yes,
recycle because of the
you
mercury.
can bring your,
Great.
you
Okay,
can bring your
that's what
things.
I'm trying to in.
So do we wanna start with?
We
the-
can. I was gonna try and get some slides from
Okay.
Zach
Okay.
to add for his presentation item. So we
Awesome.
can go over a couple of logistics items with the 3 folks that are here, and then Mike, you walked in right when we were talking about kind of logistics. So Essie's a little late. I haven't heard from anybody else that they'll be able to attend tonight, or Michelle. I guess Michelle would be the other member. And Colleen, I reached out to, and I didn't hear back from her on her availability going forward, so I'll follow up with her again, and then Essie will be here when you can get here. So we can talk about some of the event items and logistics, and get some of those logistical items out of the way, and then Matt Hannon and Zach Brown? Swank, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of a musical artist, I think.
Are here to sing for us.
That's, oh, there you go, it's close. Well, they're joining us from Partners for a Clean Environment to talk about the Green Business Program that the committee's been talking about, and Caitlin's taking the lead as the point person to reach out and try to get them involved here. Great, thank you. I'll load this real quick.
Have we had any committee applications?
So let me speak right into the microphone. Yes,
Sorry.
there is an application that was dropped off a week or so ago for a candidate who is interested in serving on the Advisory Committee for Environmental Sustainability, and her interview was scheduled for a week from Monday on April 23rd.
Awesome.
So hopefully we'll have another member for next month's meeting. So I'm going to go load this real quick.
Okay. I won't ask any more official questions. making fun of me because I have like a broken dustbuster, a broken blender, and a VCR just sitting in my car, and he's like, when are you going to get rid of these? It's like, there's an event coming up, I promise. Promise I'll get rid of it. So yes, I was checking. I think I'm gonna be okay.
No, 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 no. He's replacing Jared here.
Oh,
Not
it's
Jared,
good.
California.
Ah, that's not. I'd rather pick up the 440.
Right, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
That makes more sense.
Sorry, that's good.
No worries.
When he starts at the $100 to serve, I was like, oh.
Right, yeah,
Sounds like
right,
it's-
yeah, that's, yeah.
This one's it?
Do I need to do something?
No, you don't need to do anything. I didn't know if I was interrupting
Oh,
anything.
no,
So let's
no.
jump back into it. So I haven't gotten any other messages, so we can go ahead and get started. The event box, Caitlin dropped off. Thanks so much. We'll come back to that. So the
Should Lisa take that tonight for the Arbor Day, or will you?
So yeah, I guess while I'm thinking of it, so I don't forget. Oh, there's Michelle. The for Arbor Day, do you want to take the box with you?
Sure.
Okay. And then for the Arbor Day event,
There's additional.
we had talked about there's some additional flyers to include, having the light bulb giveaway.
Mhm.
So Shannon, our staff, went with Emily. Hi, Michelle. To go buy a couple of boxes, about 100 CFL bulbs, a combination of the recessed bulbs and the regular light, fixture light bulbs, to have at the event.
Okay.
It's a logistical question of how you want to get it there.
The 100 light bulbs?
Or if you wanted to take a few. And then we also have can't remember if it was a half sheet or a quarter sheet with some information about why CFL light bulbs make sense and how to dispose of fluorescent or CFL bulbs. So,
Yeah, why
two
LED
questions,
makes
three
sense.
variables. So box, light bulbs, and then there was a typo in the LED light bulb flyer that was attached with your agenda I sent out yesterday. So those are the three items. Don't have to answer right now.
No, but we don't have the 100 light bulbs.
Yes, I do.
Oh, how many boxes are they?
They are, well, there are two. I wasn't going to drag them in here, but they're just Costco boxes. It's just two regular size boxes, so size bigger than a microwave.
I'll take them, that'll be easier than having to come back.
Okay, that would be great. So I'll take them out to your car after the meeting.
And flyers too. It's a typo, is it a big typo? We can just on the fly?
It says on there that they're recyclable. They don't take them here. At some places they do take LED light bulbs because the material inside is recyclable, but they have to be disassembled, or the glass is to be broken, and there isn't a place around here that does the separation for that. So that's kind of the downside. Hey, Essie, how are you?
Sorry, late.
It's okay. So we're gonna
It sounds
update
like-
that,
okay,
and
alright.
then at Arbor Day, one of us will have that stack of flyers
Alright.
to include with the light
Send
bulbs.
to me electronically, I can probably use the offset myself too, so.
Oh, we'll make them on the nicer paper. This is a supply item for the town.
Okay.
So welcome, Michelle and Ezzy. We're just catching up on a little bit of the event items, trying to get ready for Arbor Day and Household Hazardous Waste event that's coming up. so you haven't missed too much. Zach and Matt are here from the Partners for a Clean Environment, so we'll try to get through our agenda items on updates and then get to them on the discussion of the Green Business Recognition Program. So thanks everybody for being here, and thanks to Matt and Zach for being here. If I forget later, I'm going to say thanks for being here now. Everybody here knows Ashley. She's been a consultant for the town, helping with program support and research items and helping support me as this committee tries to get your work plan done. We have a new staff member who has joined the town in the last month? Week and a half. Boy, time
It's felt
flies
like
in
a
my
month.
mind.
I think Martin thinks I've been here a lot longer.
Well, she works in another building. So Karen Snorlin has joined our staff in the Parks, Rec, and Open Space Department. As I think I mentioned before, their staff is in 2 different buildings and has space in the sports stable across the street, so I don't get to see Karen very often. But she's going to be stepping in as the liaison officially for staff for this particular committee, and I'll be stepping back in my role as just part of the approval process the town board went through in considering positions last year during the budget process. This committee has recommended staffing resources that were dedicated to sustainability, and it was part of the recommendation that SE made and the committee made as a recommendation to consider last fall as part of some of the sustainability items that you all had on your agenda to take up with the board. And like you heard then, the board wasn't interested in having dedicated sustainability staff resources, but the town board did approve an additional position to add a committee coordinator. And as part of the responsibilities in supporting the town's half a dozen committees, Karen is tasked with being the point person liaison with this group. You aren't rid of me. The town manager's office is still the responsible department for all sustainability capital projects. The waste contract will still be through our office, and I'll be available as Karen and the town manager need me to be in projects with the committee. And I'll be glad to help Karen in any way I can. But I wanted to welcome her with the group, and she doesn't have to sit in this chair for this meeting, but maybe next month. So I wanted to get introductions done. And if you have any questions, obviously feel free. But on the day-to-day kind of tasks from month to month, like agenda management with SE and helping track work plan items and making sure that the event box finds where it's supposed to go, some of the ongoing items that staff liaisons serve as a role for all the town committees, Karen will be stepping into that role and doing it much more ably than me. I'm sorry, Michelle, did you?
You're fine. You can finish. I just want to say you have big shoes to fill. That's great.
No,
But
that's nice
on
of
that
you.
note, I have a weird question that's been kind of pressing. Whatever happened to our town board liaison? Like, we came once and like never seen them.
I'm sorry, I missed the first question.
Whatever happened to our
First
town
que-
board
Oh, Chris Hansen?
liaison? I mean,
Yes, he is the
once.
town's, he was appointed the town board's liaison. He went to 1 or 2 meetings, and I know he had a really hectic travel schedule for a couple of months, but he was here at the the board meeting this past Monday, but I haven't had a chance to touch base with him on schedule.
Cool, just curious.
Yeah, I haven't heard. No public comment tonight, new business items. So a lot of the ongoing items in our newsletter this month. I'll touch on these really quickly so we can get to the discussion item. We talked a little bit about Arbor Day on the 21st, the Saturday after next. Thanks in advance, Lisa, for making the time to be there. And then this Saturday, the Hard to Recycle and Household Hazardous Waste event, coordinated with Boulder County's Hazardous Management Facility. The folks over at the Resource Conservation Division are great to work with, and then the folks from EcoCycle will be here for the annual event. I'll quickly show the list of items. So we talked a little bit about having a list of items that are, I didn't know what to call this, like an FAQ list. Like, what are the things that are most commonly asked about that make sense to put on a list of what is acceptable and not acceptable? So this has been linked in some of the e-blasts that have gone out. So if you had a chance to click on those, if you've gotten those in your email, you've seen this list. The one item that wasn't included on the list in the last e-blast is down here on the bottom right under EcoCycle. We've all had the questions about how big is too big? Because we know that at some points during the events, it's okay to bring, like last year I used the example of the garage door opener. So a long piece of hardware that is, I understood would be accepted, but wasn't. And then also barbecues. There's been some. So basically it comes down to the fact that the folks from EcoCycle who put on this event in coordination with us have one semi-tractor trailer that they can fill, and they can't take oversized items. And if there is kind of a one-off case that they can make an exception for, it's up to their staff. But like I noted on here on this flyer, bulky or large appliances that are too large to transfer given the amount of space available for their event, that's going to be too big. So I've listed a couple that I'd remembered. Oh, treadmill. Somebody wanted to drop off a treadmill, garage door opener, and then barbecues. Those are the ones that I've seen in the past. So we'll have this available. Caitlin, you'll see this, and anybody who is interested in this, obviously feel free to ask questions if you have them. So we'll have that. And then for the layout, we talked a little bit about this, I think, a month or two ago. El Dorado K-8 school has had a substantial renovation of their parking lot. So there's no longer a pull-up to the front door where you can continue through here. So here's Indiana, here's Mount Sopris, and here's the front door to the school. This is the entry point. It's a one-way to get into the school. You used to be able to drive right up to the front door. It's no longer possible. There is now a curb here. So the entrance point we'll have here, and then we'll have somebody stationed at the front to help split. I can't tell what color these are. This darker color for the household materials management staff in the front, and then the EcoCycle Charm site. Those folks will be on the far side. So a little bit reversed from the way it was in the past, just to have a little bit more space for the folks that are dropping off items for the Charm folks.
No, that's good. That does make it a lot easier.
At least it's a split right up the front. So
Mhm.
you go there and then you keep going, and that was a mess.
It's always going to be a little bit of a backup in that front, like we've always experienced, but this really seemed like the only option when we were walking the site with the folks from Boulder County and from Charm. This made the logical breaking point to have.
Can I ask a quick question now? So the HMM, I just want to make sure that's like the bigger stuff. So it's like-
Hazardous material.
so
No,
is
that's
this-
the
are-
paint and
no, but-
batteries and
so-
CFL light bulbs.
So are they reversed then from last year? The
Mhm.
HMM was on the other one? That's
Mhm.
perfect. Actually, that was the biggest problem because the most people go to the EcoCycle. one.
EcoCycle, yeah. So that was
So
the
that was
point.
the biggest
So
problem.
whatever color this line is, over here,
Green.
yellow. So I guess walking through this logistically, somebody's up at the front and says, "Oh, I have a TV to drop off." Okay, then and I also have a CFL light bulbs I want to drop off. They're going to need to go to both. So they would go to this line to chat with the folks from the Boulder County staff, and then they would exit going this way, turn right or south, and then they could exit, or they can get in line for the EcoCycle folks. So there's an obvious split point for where people can either leave or get in the second line, but like you all who have been there, who've experienced, it's just one of those things. You can talk to somebody and they can nod their head and say, "Yes, I understand," and about 30 seconds later, it's just a complete brain fart. And you just never know. So we just kind of take it as it comes. So the red dots here are for people. So Shannon on our staff, the court clerk who helps coordinate this, she or I will be here or here. And then Caitlin, you said you would be available?
Yep.
So maybe we'll just kind of rotate spots. And Karen might be there for a little while as part of this event.
Okay.
So that's kind of the logistical details for that.
You could help Lisa at Arbor Day.
That's
Oh.
So other newsletter items, I'm going to just kind of skip ahead and try to save some time here. The annual, or sometimes semi-annual, Shred event will be hosted at Guardian Storage later this month. You saw this in the newsletter, and then we'll also have dedicated e-blast for that. And then one more, or actually a couple more specific events that are sustainability related. So the spring compost workshop that was coordinated through Boulder County is set. Kennedy on Boulder County staff has been great to coordinate with this, to have a master gardener, somebody to come talk about all the things you'd ever want to know about composting. We'll be here at the Sports Stable Community Room on the 26th from 6 to 8. And Karen had a chance to chat with Kennedy about the items that she's going to talk to. And so if you wouldn't, can you give us kind of the quick highlights?
I'll just come up here so I don't have the microphone. So I spoke with Kennedy today, and she said that they maxed the registration for this event at 40, and Superior was the first one to fill. So we have 40 people registered for the event. She does said that we'll possibly lose 5 to 10 people who will forget or something else will come up, but that's a pretty good turnout for this event. She did send me a copy of the handout that I didn't get this to Martin to put up there, but if anyone would like to look at it, it's a 15-page document that kind of goes through the composting process and what Melanie, who is the presenter, will talk about to the group that night. So if you're interested in seeing that information, I do have that here. She asked for a flip chart and a whiteboard with markers for the presentation, and since I'm in the sports table and I will be there that night, I will make sure that that's all there and set up and ready to go. And then she just talked about how and what the presenter will talk about, and made me aware that she really just talks about how to compost and is not really talking about mentioning to anyone what changes or things will have to be made to their home if they decide to do this outside, and that the presenter will make sure to mention quite often that you need to check with your community on their regulations regarding composting.
Yeah, so thanks for mentioning that. So I think Jim Payne was here from the HOA last month or the month before last when we first talked about this, and his question was to make sure that if there are any architectural control items that they go through the HOA's review process. And I'm assuming that we're not the first community that had that question for Kennedy, because a lot of people have HOA covenant-controlled communities in the other jurisdictions in Boulder County. So that's an item that has come up. We just wanted to make sure that was on her radar in response to that request.
Yep, and she said she'd pass that along to Melanie and remind her, but she said that she's real good about making sure that that's known to everyone. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty good workshop. So.
Good.
And one more event item. Thank you, Karen. The Boulder County Sheriff's Office staff is going to be coordinating a prescription drug drop-off, a take-back program on Saturday the 28th. So you'll see on the flyer on accepted items, the household materials management folks can't take expired medications, but there is a drug take-back event on the 28th to remind people about. So we put out an e-blast on that as well. So it's a busy sustainability-related event month. It's a good way to kick off. And there is one transit update. We talk about the bus route. There was one more update item.
Hey, Mark.
Birthday celebration. I'm sorry.
I know I'm not going to be there this weekend, but maybe like those few things that you've mentioned, I don't think we need copies, but maybe like if they have something printed out, like with their clipboards, check people in, so that way if like people want to take a snapshot with their phone or something, they would remember how it goes. I don't know. It just seems like a lot. People always want to do this, but they always forget to get the information on the town's website, so maybe we should help that. Just a thought. Sorry.
Thanks, Michelle. The one item additional item I wanted to highlight was the Resource Central's annual sprinkler irrigation audits. And then our ongoing items related to sustainability. The Art Waste site hours, the trash on windy days, bulk item discard options, and then Ashley's starring video, the poo video. So those are the items that were in the newsletter, and they kind of dovetail with the agenda, noting the event items. I didn't mention yet, Ashley will continue in her role in providing program support and research support for this group, and she put together an item or a list of potential activities to host at events that was included with your agenda yesterday when I sent that out. She had a couple of options that were some great ideas to consider to, I think, respond to what the committee talked about a month or two ago about having something to not just generate interest, but to bring people to the table to talk about some of the topics that the committee is involved in. So there were some great activities, like sorting out what can be recycled, what goes into what bin, and some of the other activities. So you don't have to make a decision now. We wanted to get that out in front of you now, so before Chili Fest and 4th of July, have a chance to think about what to include along with the wonderfully sorted event materials box. That was it for events and calendar items. There was, I put a note on there for the 2019 budget schedule. April, springtime, well, kind of every month is budget month for staff, but as we start thinking about next year's budget cycle, this is kind of my annual reminder, okay, we're May and June and July is when we really try to formalize a preliminary balanced budget for the town manager to present to the town board this summer. So this is the reminder to the group. Start thinking about potential requests to document and include as a recommendation for either next month or June as we finalize the budget.
I have a question or addition. So we, if I remember correctly, the Boulder County Sustainability Grants is an annual grant to communities, and there's some expectation that the community matches a portion of the cost for those. So would, as part of the town's budget process for 2019, would we need to include requests for the sustainability grant or proposals for that, since a portion of that does need to be funded from the town budget?
So the town has applied for and received 2 out of 3 of those sustainability grants that we've applied for over the last 3 years. So the first year we did, I think it was before you were on, a couple of you were on the committee, for replacing the landfill-only trash cans to the dual and sometimes triple trash cans for recycling, landfill, and compost. We have the compost ones at the facilities where people have picnics and food. So that was a great project 2 years ago, and then last year we had the yard waste services. The organic site expanded, and that particular grant the town used. This past year we didn't have a project that was budgeted for this. We applied for an RAQC grant to help offset the cost of the 3 new EV stations, but there wasn't a sustainability grant project that was budgeted as part of having a town's match for this last budget cycle, and there wasn't a separate one applied for. The one that we spent time on was for the EV grant, not a sustainability grant. So if there was a specific project that the committee was interested in, this is the time to say, yes, we want to have that be included next year as a potential budget item.
So I think
Great.
for that, maybe as we talk about Green Business Program tonight, like if we could use that matching grant to pay for continuing the program into next year. Like I know this year we're kind of using our discretionary event money, if I understand correctly.
Well, I don't know if there's anything discretionary in a municipal
Well.
budget, but the budget that the town has for waste diversion related activities includes some program and supply funding that made sense to use for this program
Yeah.
this year, because you'd contemplated it last year,
Yeah.
but it didn't come up for whatever, just didn't come together. So this year it's available.
But that
But
may
it-
be something we think about for the next
Sure.
grant cycle, would be continuing funding of Green Business
If I remember
Program.
correctly, the grants are about $15,000, or they have been in the past, so it would be a pretty
Okay, no.
substantial program,
Yeah.
or it could have some additional things included with
Okay.
it.
So we should
Or
think about
really
that.
nice rewards, or a video, a professionally produced video. There could be some program elements that could be elevated or be more expensive items than the
Yeah.
couple $1,000s that would be used for the awards and helping establish the different tiers that the group has contemplated with the support from Matt and Zach. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if there was something specific, Mac, so
Right,
that was a long
yeah, I
answer
guess
to
I'm
a
hearing
short
that
question.
in the January-February timeframe, I think, is both the Boulder County grant and the RAQC grant is in that timeframe. If we want to be applying for those, we should identify the contribution from the town's budget, which means that we actually need to identify what those projects should be in the next couple months.
Yes. So I guess I gave you the background because this
Yeah.
committee has supported the conversion from landfill-only trash cans and the
Yep.
expansion of the yard waste site over multiple years. And after a couple of years of dialogue and recommendation from this committee to the town board, those projects were approved, and then a portion of those costs were offset by the county's grant system. That was great. So if there was a project that you were interested in specifically, like Mike's referencing, this would be the time to start brainstorming that to make sure that it is included in the recommended
Okay.
budget
So what would be our
requests.
deadline to propose something?
I like it
to,
next month, but it's realistically June.
So between today and the May meeting of this
To
committee,
brainstorm ideas kind
we
of this
should
month to
develop
next month.
ideas and then
Just so you
try
guys
to get
know,
them in.
Maybe that'll get us thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there like
Yeah.
a good reference list of like what works? You know what I mean? Like what is
Previously
really
funded
applicable.
projects.
Maybe we could see Boulder County's list. Maybe they would share us of what they've funded with sustainability grants. And then the RAQC one, I understand, is specific to electric vehicle charging, which the town board has asked us about. So that's an additional one that we should propose.
Yeah, if you were interested in proposing that, that would be something for the committee to take up. See if the board's interested.
Okay.
Well, maybe we should get to our
Yeah.
presentation and then we can resume if we want to do any brainstorming here or discuss it further, we can take it up then.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the placeholder. So this is the time of the year to start brainstorming those so that it doesn't sneak up on us.
Yeah.
And then, like you've seen in years past, there's a couple month cycle to assemble the budget, and then the town board usually considers the preliminary budget over kind of the August, September timeframe and approves it in October,
Okay.
which is probably what's going to happen this year. So now's the time to start thinking about it so it doesn't sneak up on you.
Got it.
As that was all I had for the news and updates, so I was going to hand it off to Matt and Zach. Anybody else have anything? All right, so power of the mouse.
All right. Purple honors. Thank you. Thanks for having us here and for your interest in the program. I thought I'd give you a brief overview of PACE. And who's familiar with PACE? Okay, everybody. Fantastic. All right, then I'll make it brief. And then, did everybody get a chance to look at this document?
It was in the
Okay,
meeting.
cool. Well, we can walk through that, and that's part of the presentation. But I really wanted to give you a sense of what the program entails, in its current incarnations at least. And met with Caitlin earlier last week and talked about some of the things that Superior is interested in doing and the direction they're interested in taking the program, and customization and how to make it your own. So wanted to talk through some of that with you as well. But before I forget, the past sustainability matching grant projects are up. There's a list of them on the Boulder County website. And the RAC charging station grants come out every 3 months-ish, 3-4 months. And they're going to go for a level 2 charging station. Right now, the max you can get is $6,260. They're going to go up to around $9,000 next time, thanks to VW and their cheating scandal. So.
Wait, can I ask a quick follow-up?
Yes. Yeah.
So you said that's for a level 2. Are they offering larger grants for fast charging?
The level 3s are also going up. Yeah.
Is there a prescribed dollar amount that they offer for that? Do you know?
There is. So it's 80% of the cost up to a cap. So they'll only pay, they won't pay $100 million. It's
Right.
80% up to only a certain amount. I think it's on the website.
Okay, great.
They
Thank
don't have the new amounts on there yet. Also, I think it's the. Check my email here. I just saw a request go out for a separate from that. They're wanting to put in level 3 charging stations along the 36 corridor, and there was a request for proposals for that specifically. And if anybody's interested, I can forward. I just saw the email today. I haven't actually read it, but
Okay.
I can forward that as well.
Great.
Great.
We could be candidates for that.
And just a note for the group, Zach, before you move on, the most expensive element of the installations that we did last year weren't the actual units themselves. It was bringing electric over and making the electric upgrade. So that's the other budget impact. There's the 80-20 split, which is great, but for a couple of the sites it was less expensive, and then for one of our sites it was substantially more expensive just to bring power over.
You figure I've heard about $100 a foot for trenching through concrete, so that adds up.
Yeah, it depends on how far.
Yeah,
it depends on how far.
Yeah. So now to our featured event here. Again, I'm Zach. I work with Partners for Clean Environment. We are a program at Boulder County. This is Matt's. Matt's the guy that's actually going to be doing all the work. I'm the guy that gets to speak tonight. But we've been around for 20 years. We started off as pollution prevention, trying to help auto mechanics and print shops not dump stuff down the drain. Over time, we've evolved. We're funded by both Boulder County, and then we get funding from the City of Boulder to provide dedicated services just to the City of Boulder as well. We divide our work into 4 areas. We have energy efficiency, waste reduction, water efficiency, and transportation are sort of the buckets that we work in. And feel free to stop me and ask questions. Collectively, I guess really since 2010, we've worked with over 2,000 businesses. We have 130 businesses who are certified through us, which is different from the Green Business Program, which I'll talk about later. And the savings that we've tracked are equivalent to taking 4,700 cars off the road and are saving businesses in Boulder County $2 million a year. So that's countywide. In Superior, not quite so much. So we worked with 10 businesses who've completed 13 upgrades, and we don't have any PACE certified businesses here in Superior. And that's one of the reasons that I'm really excited about partnering on this program is it's going to bring more of our time and energy to the town. So I think that that's a really great thing, and we're excited about that. So like I said, we have the 4 areas. We are a one-stop shop. So if a business is interested in energy efficiency, we will talk with them about energy efficiency, but we're also going to look at their water efficiency at the same time. We typically start with a walkthrough assessment, and then we'll give them a written report of their top opportunities. On the energy side, we'll go from that assessment all the way through helping them find contractors and accessing rebates that we have that can be combined with the rebates from Xcel Energy to make upgrades. And we have lighting, heating and cooling, solar rebates, and frequently our funds are limited and they do run out. We do still have funds available at this moment, and we always have a wait list, even if, because projects always fall through, particularly the large ones. It just seems that way. On waste, some common things that we do with businesses are help them get recycling and compost services if they don't already have it. And then we do trainings. We have free bins that we provide up to $300 worth. And we can help out with custom signage as well. Water, this is a key sort of a gateway that we like to use because we offer free aerators that cut a standard hand washing sink down to a quarter of the use, and they spray like a shower head instead of a garden hose, so you get the same effect with less water. And that's something we do right there on the spot, which is a great way to establish relationships with businesses. We also refer businesses to the Slow the Flow irrigation assessments, which are in your newsletter. On the transportation side, we help businesses access the EV charging station grants. I've found that the skill set necessary to run and manage a business is not necessarily the skill set for applying for grants. And so we help businesses with understanding what the costs are for charging stations, what the considerations are, and then also helping them sort of wordsmith their grants a little bit. And we've helped a number of businesses. Everybody that we have helped has gotten the grant, so I feel good about that. We also provide bike racks, up to 4 bike racks per business, and help them not only give them the racks, but like all of our work, we help them figure out where the best place is to put them. Don't put them too close to the wall. Don't put them in the middle of the sidewalk. Things like that happen. And then we of course work with the transportation management organization. I saw Commuting Solutions up there on your newsletter as well for more of the typical, EcoPass, carpool, vanpool, things like that. We partner with Community Solutions for that. So we have a PACE certification, and this can get a little confusing, but so we have a PACE certification that predates our involvement with the Green Business Recognition programs, and it is performance-based. So for energy efficiency, businesses have to earn an Energy Star Portfolio Manager score of 75 or greater, which is the same requirement as Energy Star certification itself. For water efficiency, we're looking at what your actual fixtures are, what your water consumption is. Waste diversion, we're measuring your waste diversion rate. Whereas with the Green Business Program, we're using an online tool called Green Biz Tracker where businesses go on and fill out, okay, I've upgraded most of my LED lights, or I've upgraded all my LED lights, checkbox. Not, here's my utility bills. So PACE certification is designed to be high bar and somewhat limiting in who earns that. Whereas one of the reasons I really like the Green Business Program that we've been partnering on is it's much more inclusive, and it's about getting folks on the path and the different stages of sustainability and meeting them where they are. So the way we've worked in our PACE certification is if you are a PACE certified business and you're participating in the Green Business Program, you get a bunch of points. Because if you're PACE certified, you've already saying like, hey, our performance is actually meeting this bar. So that's how we sort of work the two together. Now for actually what you wanted me to start talking about. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay, cool. We started, Lafayette started a Green Business Recognition Program in 2013. And we started partnering with them in 2015, thinking that we're already out there talking to businesses, and they already have this program, and why don't we work together? And so that's how that got started, and then Louisville looked at that and thought that that looked pretty good, so they joined in 2016. And the programs are set up as they sort of alluded to, bronze, silver, golds, and really designed to recognize businesses where they're at. The program typically features a recognition event, decals that look a lot like that, newspaper article if we can get one, obviously not guaranteed. You can control the press release, but you can't control if it gets picked up. Lafayette and Louisville have run ads every year, and then of course ongoing support from the committee as well as PACE. And so certainly I would say since we started engaging with Lafayette and Louisville on the Green Business Program, we have been paying more attention to them through that partnership, which I think is great that you all are interested. Oops, wrong computer. So a little bit about roles and responsibilities, and I just sort of took some of this presupposes roles and responsibilities a little bit, but I took what we've been doing in Lafayette and Louisville and sort of just I renamed LESAP to ACES basically. Helping with really co-designing the program structure. Caitlin talked to us a little bit about a focus on new construction, and I think that's something really exciting. We'll talk about that. Next slide. The recognition portion of the program is something that the other committees and cities have handled. So that would be figuring out decals, printing them, the recognition event, and we will be there working with you. But in terms of who's really leading that process, that's been the committees. Obviously interface with town staff, and therefore press release development, things like that. For the town, really interesting to see your newsletter. I think that would be a key way to communicate about the program. And the cities have typically had city council members participate in the recognition events, getting up to speak and that type of stuff. For us, we're also right there. Outreach appears for everybody, and we're there with outreach as well. For us, that means door-to-door outreach. We have obviously some businesses that we've worked with, but we'll have a renewed focus in going around. Our advising, that's our rebates, our incentives, helping businesses make upgrades. That's on us. And then the Green Biz Tracker system, which is simply just it's a website where businesses fill out their business name, address, number of employees, that type of thing, business type, and then they get a checklist based on their business type. So an auto mechanic gets one checklist, a retail store gets another one. And then they just go through and it's, yes, no, NA. If they have any comments on questions, they can flag them. And then we go through on the back end and look at that, were there any questions that they had comments on? And one of the features of the program is that in order to earn any recognition, a business has to have a walkthrough assessment from us. Partially so we can identify other opportunities, and partially because self-reporting of sustainability practices is unreliable. So then we'll also handle the scoring. But the checklist creation is flexible-ish. The platform, this Green Biz Tracker platform, was developed by some municipalities in California. It's now in use in California, the state of Washington, and here, not just here in Boulder County, but in the state. Denver's using it, and High Country Conservation is using it, and the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment is also using it for their business awards. And so we have some things are flexible, and some things are set at the statewide level. So adding in questions we can definitely do. Tweaking wording of a question, if it's really important, we can make that happen. But that requires coordination with everybody. So for the most part, I think my request to you all would be sort of to accept things as they are, except for where you can't, and then we can work on them. So there's some flexibility there, but it's a little bit difficult to make some changes. But we can talk that through as we get to it. Another key partner is the chamber. Obviously, business relationships are really important, and so I know that you've been talking with Heather, and I mentioned something to her as well. At some point early on, we'll want to bring her in and talk about specifically what their interest is. The Louisville and Lafayette chambers have been great partners. And then any champion businesses are really great, both for the promotion of the program and then the continuation of the program. A really good example of that is two businesses in Lafayette have gotten together, and they're on the May 1st, they're putting on a green business marketing session for the Lafayette and Louisville green businesses as a free thing to help businesses who have earned this distinction, really communicate that well. And that was something that came from them, and we don't have the expertise to do, and so that's really the community helping to grow. Any questions on this? Initial thoughts? Do things seem about right or off base?
What is the checkup or whatever happened? Because it says the application scoring and all that. You kind of went by it fast. So when do you go
Yeah.
to the business to check up?
Yeah. So
I don't see it really in the bullets.
Yeah. So that would be once a business has applied, we will get notice of that, and then we would reach out to them and schedule the site visit, where we would go around and either if they've fully completed their application. Some folks start and get halfway through. Most do complete though. Then we would be verifying and identifying other opportunities, giving them that written report.
And the reason I'm asking is I'm guessing some members of this committee might want to go on some. So.
Yeah, we would love that. Yeah, and I didn't put you down here, but any relationships that you have with businesses, any business, anybody that you think would be in business that you think would be a good candidate, or contacts you have with business owners or managers, introductions you can make, super helpful. But yeah, we would love, whenever we have those, they're open to you all anytime, and we can keep you informed of when we have those assessments. Any other questions? So some of the stuff, wrong computer again. some of the stuff that Caitlin and we had talked about as ways to make this really work for Superior are a focus on businesses entering the new downtown, and related to that, we don't currently have a checklist for a business that isn't built yet. And I understand that might be something that's interesting to you all as you have businesses coming in that catching them early on in their development stage. And the Leah Yancey's email, Martin, earlier about and to USC as well, about the criteria and point system that you had created previously. I was looking through that and I was like, this is perfect. We can just put this, into GreenBiz Tracker, and I think the points look they're about the right scale to what we have, right? Because we tend to keep things in the single digits for the most part as well. So it's not like we're giving things 200 points or something like that. So I think we can even just keep the points. So that's something that should be pretty easy to do. And then going a little further with that, potentially, is this something that the planning department is then suggesting that businesses who are going through plan review or buildings that go through plan review look at as something to apply for from the get-go. I understand, Lisa, that there might be an online training that businesses could take, and we can definitely build in points for that. I don't think we can. We can. I'm not sure if we can link to it from within the system, but we can definitely reference it. And when we are going around meeting with businesses, then we can really emphasize it. EV charging station assistance. That's definitely something that whatever we take a little bit different focus in each community based on what the sustainability committees are working on. Definitely we can focus on EV charging or anything else you want to focus on, and make sure that we're highlighting the businesses. It sounds like Chili Fest might be a great time for the recognition event, logistically in time.
And so you guys you have an open period of applications from June to October or September?
Yeah.
And so that's why Chili Fest seems like they would have all the applications scored, and we could recognize the businesses at a big community event.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
So just to sort of, we can make this a little bit bigger. There's a detailed timeline here that I won't make you sit through, me read to you aloud. But basically, right now we're talking about program setup and design, and then launching sometime in June, and then during that period, things really sort of there's work for you all here, and there's work for you all leading up to the recognition. But this is largely, typically in Lafayette and Louisville, largely us. Of course, we would love it if you were out talking to businesses and going on assessments with us. So the more of that, the better. But in terms of, sort of broadly speaking throughout the year, that's how we typically like to set it up. It didn't happen last year in Lafayette and Louisville because we had some delays with switching to this new whiz-bang online system that turned out to be a little bit slower to get started up than we thought. But we've got it now, so we can control our time a little bit better. What other questions do you have? Or vision, I guess vision for the program. We talked with Caitlin about it, but I'm curious to hear from the rest of you, what you want out of the program, really, or what your expectations are, and so we can work to match those.
I don't have questions per se, but I think this looks really good and in line with what we talked about before. And personally, I'm excited that the points thing we came up with might actually be useful for someone. So that's cool to see. I think a lot of what we've talked about is around promoting kind of energy efficiency, and certainly water too and waste. But since the town center is going to be built up, or the downtown, I guess,
Yeah.
you know, the more we can focus on the kind of new construction aspect, I think will be super valuable in terms of promoting it in the community, since everything's going to change pretty quickly over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And certainly the town board has also asked specifically about EV charging, so I think that's also a good place to focus as well. So I think it looks good. I don't have a whole lot of questions, but I think it looks great so far. So yeah. So thanks, Caitlin, again for
Yeah.
setting this up.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I think it will be a good program. I think, you know, talking about downtown and getting those businesses involved in the community from the very beginning, but also encouraging our existing businesses to
Yeah, absolutely.
continue.
And I guess that's a good point too, is sort of if there's an element where we can kind of treat this also as a community building exercise as well, as opposed just to focus on energy efficiency or sustainability. I think
Yeah.
that's also great. So I think that's another area where some of the transportation elements in particular can be really valuable in terms of kind of, you know, bringing the businesses together and kind of creating a cohesive downtown area.
Yeah.
So I think this will be great for that as well.
And
Martin,
that's,
is there a date set for Chili Fest already?
It's always the second Saturday in September.
Second
I don't know
Saturday in
what that date
September.
is.
Okay.
Perfect.
If I was smart enough, I could tell you.
yeah, I think, you know, the community aspect
Yeah.
is what's most exciting to me. You know, we talked about here about, you know, some of the purpose of the Green Business Program, obviously, you know, big one, reducing greenhouse gas emissions.
Mhm.
But really, you know, I see it as an opportunity to build a movement and build community around this. And I think that, yeah, that's, it doesn't necessarily, you can't always connect it to, okay, you know, there's less emissions because of this, but personally, that's what gets me really excited about doing this work, is seeing, you know, the result of what we do together leading to more things, you know, on their own and starting to snowball. So, yeah.
Martin, I have another question.
Hmm?
So, to officially move forward with this, do we need like town board approval, or is it considered something that's already kind of built into something in our work plan?
I don't have the mouse, but the work plan, I think, as a Q2 activity had research and present options to the board or something like that. Is it-
I thought it also had that we were supposed to do stuff on the
Mhm.
commercial sector.
Yeah.
If we
So-
do stuff, but I think we're.
This is
I think
doing
you're,
stuff.
I think you're doing it, and then the execution was in the future quarter. So yeah, I think the.
I don't mean just research, I thought we were just actually do stuff.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And we didn't have to necessarily go back for permission for that, because it was already approved in the work plan that we would do stuff.
The coordination is absolutely, I think, covered in the work plan
Okay.
for investigating it and then executing it. Yes.
Okay.
I usually try to look for that language, because
Yes.
I don't like to go back to sleep.
Fair enough.
I like the implicit approval.
Yep.
Something that you will do in the future. So then, we had briefly talked a little bit about budget and what we should be anticipating for this program. Because we'll be able to use Chili Fest, it doesn't seem like there's much additional event cost. It would just be building that kind of into the agenda at the bandstand. Is that?
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but what do you envision happening at Chili Fest?
So we were just thinking recognition.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it seems
Yeah.
like another place would be, we could work with the chamber on an existing event that they have, and also
Mhm.
announce.
Say the
maybe
annual
there's-
dinner
yeah, I think they've been
or
working
the
on-
casino night.
Yeah.
been lots of.
There's some great promotional opportunities, I think,
Yeah.
that Heather talked about when she was here a month or two ago. The annual dinner's in June, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's an earlier part of their season, and then the casino night is later. So having some promotional opportunities through those events, and then having a culmination event or a recognition event at Chili Fest would be great.
Yeah, and so budget-wise, they'd said, like Louisville spent $1,200, but the event was $600 of that. And so if we are just looking at $600 for decals, maybe like an ad in Rock Creek Living or something like that, is that
Sure, I think
able
the
to
amount that
be-
I've talked about the last couple of months was about $2,000 for
Okay.
program expenses and $500 for supplies that has been in the budget. And
Okay.
I think we're still in line with those.
Okay.
I think it'd be great too if we could look at potentially, depending on budget availability, looking at something like a nice plaque as opposed to just decal, or something that's a little bit fancier, so that, you know,
I
especially
thought
with
Leah
new
had mentioned
businesses
that there
and
was,
stuff.
I'm sorry to interrupt Jesse, but
No, no,
where
that's
there
fine.
was a plaque at the recognition event at the municipalities in addition to the decals. And it was a kind of a budget question
Oh,
of
that could be right.
whether or not there was I don't want to call it an annual winner, but there was some hardware that somebody got for being a star achiever in previous green business programs. And if not, we're definitely doing one.
Yeah. Ours will be bigger and
The first-
shinier.
Exactly.
The Stanley Cup
There
of
you
green
go,
business
yeah.
recognition.
Louisville last year did a People's Choice Award, which I thought was pretty neat. They
That's
had,
cool.
it was a campaign to get people to nominate their favorite, business that they thought was doing really well in sustainability, which is a nice, engagement from the other side of this.
Mhm. That's awesome.
Nobody's done a plaque or trophy. It gets talked about a lot.
We should be the first.
For PACE certification, we do have frames, certificates, and bamboo, frames that we give out.
Okay, maybe I'm
Cool.
confusing
So,
the two.
yes.
I remember Leah
Yeah.
saying that there was an event for recognition with the local elected officials where they received something, so it was a plaque. I was thinking trophy.
It was from the mayor, but we didn't put it, in a plaque per se.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I mean, that's certainly an option. Things that are free are listing on the town website
Mhm.
of recognizing these other businesses, linking if you can, it's best. Heather and the chamber is great to have involved because if we can get into chamber communications and recognition, that's great. Or buying an ad in the chamber directory, when it gets published is another way to do that. Town newsletter, recognizing businesses is great. Lafayette has done, both Lafayette and Louisville do press releases, news flashes, if you have those. And then the spendy things are decals. If you're gonna do a plaque, decals are cheap, a couple bucks each, so that's not a big deal. And then advertising is where the rest of the money goes. Typically, Lafayette and Louisville have bought either print or digital ads in Hometown Weekly, and I don't know if they did the camera. I think one year they did the camera. And then this year, Lafayette's doing digital ads. Louisville's just doing print ads. But those, you buy a couple of ads and that adds up.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Martin, I know there's also, when people move to Superior, there's kind of that welcome kit that they get with a bag of all sorts of information and stuff. Is there somewhere we could just put an extra flyer about your local green businesses? Go and make sure you support them because they're awesome. type of
Yes,
thing?
they're great. So the program you're referring to, I think Heather calls the rooftop drop.
Right, yep.
And once a quarter of all the houses that are in Superior receive the rooftop drop for all residents, and then new residents. We used to. I'm pretty sure we do a new resident. I can't remember what it's called. It's like a welcome kit.
Mhm.
It has a lot of digital information and coupons and some other information that Heather and the folks with the chamber coordinate dropping off. So they're
Okay,
two
so that
really
would be with
good.
Heather as
They're
well.
two really good marketing opportunities for
Cool.
kind of hard drops at people's doorsteps that are available through the chamber that we always try to coordinate on.
Okay.
We've done that in the past with Energy Smart programs, getting flyers
Mhm.
to them to include in the rooftop drops, and Leah's included those, and then also with the TMO with the community solutions. So we've got a good option there, in addition to kind of the digital media or traditional kind of advertising. We have hard materials that are dropped off at individuals' doorsteps.
Mhm.
That's not necessarily businesses, but most of the people who live here work somewhere around here.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm. I was
But
just saying that-
that's getting the
Mhm.
consumers to
Mhm.
to look for the businesses. Is
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I think just, it's recognizing the businesses and then also promoting more awareness of the program too.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be a great way to hit both of those. So. Cool.
Do you have anything that you want to add?
No, I think that was a great overview. I think as the program kind of rolls out here the next month or two, Zach and I are obviously available for questions, and I'm sure questions kind of arise great little 20-minute overview. It's a multi-month process, obviously, so a lot goes into it. And yeah, Zach has up here just kind of a large timeline for kind of month by month.
Matt, can you go up to the microphone for me?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry, but we've got to capture
Yeah,
you
no
for
problem.
the record.
So yeah, Zach developed this timeline up here. So responsibilities, who supports, general dates, kind of going April through the end of the program, which is usually October. We had this year was a little off, but we had a November event in Louisville our first time around. October is usually when we have the event in the fall because things obviously calm down towards the holidays. Yeah, we can. I'm sure Zach can send this around, and then any questions, Zach and I are happy to answer. We have 5 or 6 years in Lafayette experience doing this, and a couple in Louisville. So this is obviously new and Superior, but I think we have a pretty good base to go off of.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so I'll let you read this at your leisure. But this is a little more in depth about what are our if you guys want to do this, what are the next steps? What do we need to tackle first? As well as it goes through the lots of stuff. It goes through the whole cycle. So.
Okay.
And typically, we've worked with just a couple of. We're happy to meet with all of you, but typically we've had one point person. I would assume that'd be you, Caitlin, to be sort of the. We learned the first year we need somebody to spearhead and keep on track of agenda, and we help with that as well. But that's sort of an expectation that we have from you all, as well as that somebody will be keeping track of tasks on your end as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Thanks.
So it seems like next steps would be having some town staff time of like getting information on our website and whatever other program documentation we need. Is that?
So I guess that would be my question also. So I see some items there that have April and some that seem like they're May.
Yeah.
So there's an application link that needs to be done. So I guess between now and the end of the month, what needs to be done and created?
So this is a living document.
Yeah.
Okay.
So between I would say our immediate next thing is I'd love to sit down with Heather and give her the same sort of overview with you at the same time and talk about what Heather's involved, what she sees the chamber's involvement being. I think that's a key one. Anything that you all want to add to the question set or categories, that'd be a good thing to start working on now for us, for you to let us know so we can start building that in. Thinking through, this is a thing that always takes, every year takes more time, even Lafayette that's done this a number of years. Starting to think about what do businesses get for doing this, because we need to have that defined before we launch the program, so we can go around and tell businesses, hey, participate in this program, and if you do, you will get recognition at Chili Fest and a plaque or listing on the town website. So like figuring out what it is that you want to do there is important to do up front, so we can communicate the value of the program to businesses on the recognition side. So I think those are the immediate things.
You skipped over defined recognition tiers.
So that's set by PACE.
Yeah. So this is on us. I put it on there because we switched to a new online program, and we previously didn't have. Sorry.
No.
Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't need
So
a long explanation.
yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Good. You don't need to worry about that. We'll take care of it. Yeah.
So on that, though, if I can jump in. So the
Yes.
Green Business Tracker training, I had a chance to click on
Right.
the site and see what kind of the fields are that you fill in. So logistically, if the committee is able to put together what the program's going to look like and develop a tailored set of benefits that are associated with this
Yeah.
program, and then staff's able to market it, put it on our website, and help publicize it, between kind of now and May and the June timeline for newsletters and for e-blasts and also on our website. You mentioned having specific things that were unique to Superior. If there are any items that were on the checklist, would they be
Yeah.
added to the, I guess, tell me, how does it get tailored for Superior? Is it the green business checklist that gets
Yeah, it's the
Superior-ified?
checklist, it's the question, so there's checklists for each business type, auto mechanic versus retail or office. And then there's questions on those checklists. And so we can control, whether we're creating a new checklist, like for new construction. I think that'd probably be the only one, because we have everybody else pretty well bucketed out. And also, is there, like, I'm trying to think, like, is there like a town event, like Lafayette had on there volunteering at a zero waste station at the Peaches and Oats festivals as something that, a business could do to earn points. So that was specific to them. So is there something like that for you all that you want to encourage businesses to participate in through this platform?
So is now the window to do that?
We really have up until it launches.
Okay.
So
I guess I didn't go down that far on your
June,
list.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
in June when it officially goes live.
Yeah. So I figured.
So
But
we
it's
could
good to talk about
start
it now.
promoting the program in May. You would do the application period would be open June to September.
Start preparing getting the press release together and that type of stuff in May to get publicly announced in June, and then application is June. If the Chili Fest is in September, we'll probably want to close it in August.
Okay.
But yeah, so like press releases and things like that, I have them on here in May, because I know it takes time to get on, communications staff schedule and, getting the newsletter and that type of stuff. So
Okay.
we would want to figure out what we want to say coming up in a couple of weeks, so it can get onto town staff schedules without being like, emergency,
Yeah.
this tomorrow.
So I guess
Yeah.
that's why I'm asking. So
Yeah.
we have about 2 weeks before we have to start assembling our May newsletter.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we have
So
kind
there
of,
you go,
it'll be
yeah.
before the group's next meeting, that at least
Okay.
that initial May placeholder, or
Mhm.
save the date, or save the space, or save the
Okay.
reminder to participate.
I'm hearing him say that he's not dying to do a press release until after we've got the application form all set up.
So June
So
1st.
that's what I was hearing you say.
Um,
My real question was about a different thing, which is, why is this only 2 months? Is this an ongoing thing?
So that's a really great question, and that's something that I would say is a collective decision. The way that
I mean, summer's not the greatest time.
yeah, we've found that it's helpful to have an end date by which people need to do something. Last year we had it through the end of the year. I mean, at some point you have to have a cutoff of you were being recognized for 2018.
That I understand, but that doesn't mean it's not an ongoing program. It's just
Right.
your Academy Awards for this year and your Academy Awards for that year.
Right, exactly, yeah. So when I say, it being open, obviously we need to do some things to get it started. And then at some point, if we want to have the recognition event in this same calendar year, we need to have a cutoff date. And then, and as Matt alluded to, that needs to be before the holiday season starts.
And
So.
and you should talk to
Heather.
Heather, thank you, about what events she does have. 'Cause
Yeah.
There's one that's even more suited.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, thinking about, 2019, typically the programs like to make changes, and, let me say, Lafayette and Louisville have liked to make changes and then have a new sort of like program launch for the year. Right now, on the Lafayette and Louisville website, the business can still apply, any time of the year, and it comes in and we'll work with them. So in that sense, it always is ongoing, yeah. But they like to have sort of this like, okay, this is the start and this is what's new this year, to have that sort of like, I don't know, energy of like, okay, it's open and it's closed, and if you want to earn recognition. But we're always available to work with businesses, and the link Lafayette and Louisville have kept the link live throughout the years. Does that answer your question?
So I guess maybe to follow up on that a little bit, if somebody has a September recognition event at Chili Fest, so then does it kind of de facto become September to September if you have an ongoing program?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Unless you wanted to, have a sort of launch event to announce, new changes. Which, I mean, yes, definitely. And also, you can on top of that, which is what Lafayette and Louisville are doing, having a springtime launch event, saying here's what's new.
Just because that's kind of construction season, maybe, or it's event season?
Because that's when we've gotten it together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a calendar item for the county, and then each of the jurisdictions can have an ongoing program, and then any of the tweaks that happen over the first couple months of the year get rolled out in the spring.
Yeah. The way it's been is like, get the recognition event done, and then we survey businesses, ask what they thought about it, what they'd like to see changed. Then we get together and meet with the committee and think about what changes we'd like to make. And the holidays are in there, so nothing happens, much around that. So usually it's, around now before we're like, okay, here's the new stuff that we're going to do this year. So.
Is the Chili, and I'm only asking this, the Chili Fest is kind of a moving thing, and whatever. I don't know if that's really this is really the perfect venue. That's my concern. Is it the biggest attended thing on the time that you do the announcements?
Well, yeah, there's a captive audience at Chili Fest. It's definitely the biggest group of citizens getting together at any one point, and the suspense that you have waiting.
The whole event, right.
Not throughout the whole event.
I mean, just the awards ceremony. That's what I'm talking about. The whole event. Sure, it's multi-days and whatever. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when this would be actually promoted and delivered and notified and recognized or whatever.
There's always.
Is that the biggest event?
Yes, definitely to have a band shell with a microphone and several hundred people, all in front of a stage. This is it. This is definitely the window for the town.
And the Lafayette and Louisville have also done recognition in front of City Council. Actually, this year Lafayette didn't do a recognition event at all. They're just having recognition in front of City Council. So that's another. You can do that as well, which I think is a great thing.
Kind of a both or either.
Yeah.
I have a slightly different question. I
Yeah.
know under the business recognition benefits, it mentions Town Board of Trustees acknowledgement. Martin, is there any way we could somehow explain what PACE is and get the town board to agree that they would be willing to acknowledge businesses that apply for it in the next month or so? Or is that totally unrealistic?
Sure. So I thought if I remember correctly, there was a promotion through the town that I think the town board or maybe the mayor helps
Yep.
promote, if I've seen some previous letters.
So yeah, there was a letter
not
from the
for
mayor
approval.
promoting PACE
They
services to
always have
businesses.
recognized
Mm.
So
Boy Scouts, whatever.
yeah.
Fair enough, okay.
Not a big deal.
I just didn't know if there was
Can I go
anything.
back to that? Just-
No, I'd rather not, but
Yes,
at the
just
same
that
point.
if any opportunity to say, oh, well, we're not so interested in that, so just don't.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I understand both sides, but
Yeah.
just the
Yeah, I
flip
just
side of
wanted to
that is
clarify, like, what the
the
best
group is
approach
going to
is.
have a chance for a joint dinner with the board, maybe in June. It's not set yet, and I'll let you know as soon as it's set, or Karen will send you a note. So there'd be an opportunity to at least get in front of the board.
Yeah.
And we can launch the program saying those things of you'll get a decal, you'll get recognition at town events. Like,
Yeah.
we don't have to
Yeah.
be like 100% specific of like on June 15th you're gonna.
Yeah, no. That's fine. I was
So-
just
List of
curious if there
benefits
was a
is
way to-
Yeah.
really kind of the global
Yeah.
list of benefits.
Fair enough. All right, we'll go with that.
So we have our list of tasks to kind of work on over the next few weeks as kind of
Uh-huh.
the kickoff.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think the most, like, what happens, like, what is the thing that happens tomorrow or, next week? I think it'd be great to get a meeting set up with
Yep.
Heather, and probably better if that comes from you all
Yep.
rather than us, so that we can get together that way.
Okay.
And then, starting for you all to start to think about, again, the benefits and any specific, superior specific things that you want and the design of the program, how it functions, as well as, question sets and things like that. and maybe we can talk about that when we meet at the meeting we have with Heather, and then sort of take things from there. But the cadence of meetings that we've had, or maybe not meetings, but communication that we've had around this time of year, the other programs has been sort of meetings probably worth having meetings every 2 weeks to get the ball rolling, and then, emails in between, of course, but
Yeah.
just so we're, getting on the same page.
And so I think the other things for the customized piece would be, I think Essie is probably your go-to for the new construction. Any questions on
Sure,
getting
happy
that
with-
set
yeah,
up?
Okay, great.
I know nothing about
Yeah,
all of that,
that's
so.
I'm going to be traveling a bunch over the next month or two, but I'd be happy to provide whatever assistance I can.
Okay.
So,
I'll take a deeper look at what's there,
Mhm.
and then I'll reach out to you.
okay, perfect.
And then
Thanks.
Lisa for
For the
the,
trash stuff, because you're more energy than trash, right?
Yep.
And more, like, more
Trash.
She's our trash lady.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Thanks.
Cool, okay,
Cool.
awesome.
Okay.
So while you're here, I had a tickler note to ask Leah the next time that she was here, and she hasn't been here for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Mike had a question about budget earlier, and we're kind of segueing into our budget.
Yeah.
Just our budget hat that we're putting on for next year. Leah and Kate Bailey were here from EcoCycle in November and talked about the sustainability tax, the 0.25 that was split between 12.5 for open space and 12.5 for sustainability-related costs and
Yeah.
for the county through the county projects. The sustainability grants that Mike referenced earlier and we chatted a little bit about, those were going to be the vehicle for distributing that funding starting in, I want to say 2020-ish.
That's right. Yeah.
The group talked at that time about whether or not there would be a dedicated revenue or dedicated revenue source available to the individual jurisdictions whose residents are paying for this tax, or was it still going to be one-off grant submittals? And Kate and Leah said at the time, that right now that was the commissioner's plan. Do you know off the top of your head if that's still the plan?
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
And I also didn't understand which was the plan, the grant submittals or the dedicated funds.
Leah let us know
I
that
don't
the
know
commissioners
either
at the
way.
time,
Yeah.
the revenue that was going to be generated through that tax that would start to be collected in 2020,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be, the jurisdictions wouldn't have the ability to receive that funding except through a one-off grant process. There wouldn't be any ongoing operating revenue.
I believe that is still.
That's
I
still the
haven't heard
case.
anything to the contrary.
Okay, I just wondered.
Yeah.
I don't get all the emails and I don't
Right.
read them all probably.
Yeah. And so yes, the funds become available in 2020. Of course, for the county, the 2020 budget cycle planning, much like the town, of course, happens in 2019. So they're now in the process, and we're now in the process as a program. PACE is currently, it was funded out of it's funded out of county funds. Then in 2010, we got a American Recovery Act grant that really expanded the program. And then that grant ended, and the commissioners made the choice to continue to fund our program out of county funds, with the assumption that one day we might have a sustainability tax and a sustainable source of funding. So we're obviously watching that very closely as well, because without that, our program doesn't continue in its current incarnation either. But we expect it to, certainly now that the tax is passed. But yeah, so we're collecting feedback from, and I haven't started this process, but we will, reaching out about specifically our program and how it serves the communities, as well as the commissioners are collecting feedback about anything that was mentioned in the sustainability tax, as they're making their decision about funding and allocation of those funds.
Okay, I just wanted to follow up. This group
Yeah.
had a robust discussion with Leah and Kate at the time.
Yeah.
And it's been a few months. I just wondered if there was anything new.
Yeah, no, things won't be decided until the 2019 budget cycle, but preliminary sort of groundwork and positioning and muscling around for funds is happening now. So,
Okay, great. Thanks for that.
yeah.
Would it make sense to schedule or think about a time to come back?
Yeah.
To ACES?
To here,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure, absolutely.
So our next meeting is May 10th. I will not be here. But I think that would make sense to get an update on how things are going and make sure we're ready for a launch in June if you guys are available.
I'll be able to make it then.
It's
I don't think I
your
can make it
graduation
yours 'cause I'm
night.
offline. But I can at least,
Yeah.
I will be unavailable on the 10th,
Okay,
but we'll get back to you.
yes.
Okay, cool.
We will have some sort of update.
Some sort of update, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any other thoughts on green business recognition?
No, thanks again.
Thank
It's awesome.
you.
We're really
Awesome.
excited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're excited too. Thanks for wanting to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's-
absolutely.
Yeah. It helps
It'll be
us,
good.
but yeah, we appreciate it.
Okay.
I'm slowly putting my stuff away. I didn't know if anybody else had anything else to.
I
anything else?
have nothing further.
I don't have anything.
Well, nothing, we don't need to discuss now, but I think we should have the goal of applying for all the grants that are available to us to
Absolutely.
support ourselves,
Yeah.
so.
Put that on the
um,
next agenda.
The RAQC one is pretty clearly around electric vehicle charging. The town has successfully gotten it before, and the town board inquired specifically about charging
exactly.
at downtown Superior, so I think we should come back with a proposal for the board to put something in the budget, the town's portion of the cost share for a certain amount of a certain type of chargers.
Mhm.
That's something we should develop, or at least, or present them a couple of options to consider, to encourage them to approve that and apply for it.
So I have a really dumb question about that.
Yeah.
So none of that was forced on the developer? The developer doesn't have to put any EVs?
No, it's not a requirement.
It's so ridiculous.
It's sort of.
Carrots. Carrots, guys.
Exactly. Apparently that's the new way.
So it's, I just.
Yeah.
But I do think if there's interest in creating a fast charging corridor along 36, that would be a great way to bring in traffic to Superior and have some more recognition for the town and
And we're
sort of-
getting Tesla.
right, yeah.
So-
If we get a Tesla
Real-
dealership,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Real quick question, whatever happened, I thought we had 2 applicants for the board.
We have one.
No, there were a couple of people that had chatted with us, and I think Essie chatted with a couple of folks, and I chatted with one or two. There was one candidate, or there was one applicant who is scheduled for an interview on April 23rd.
Okay.
And Michelle isn't here.
I haven't been here though on the meeting, so I haven't put it in until availability is now.
Oh, got
Okay.
it.
So,
Gotcha.
You know, once graduation happens at Monarch High School, then
Well, good. It's always nice to have you
Yeah, so
here.
as soon as
Yes.
it's
Well,
graduation.
We're waiting with bated breath for
Yes.
application.
I'm not sleeping until graduation.
And have
If
you?
that's something you're looking for, as we're going around and talking to businesses too,
Oh,
we can.
cool.
Mhm.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We can keep that.
Yeah, if there are any business
Fantastic.
owners or
Yeah.
managers who'd like to serve on this committee, that'd be fantastic.
Mhm.
We have
And
openings.
Have you heard any more from Colleen about if she's planning on returning or? what her
I think I
situation?
mentioned at the start, maybe before you were here, that
Oh,
I
okay.
had sent her an email hoping to touch base with her about schedule, if she'd be available to attend tonight's meeting. I didn't hear back from her.
Okay.
So I think like you and I chatted about, I'd circle back with
Yeah.
her the way I did with Tanya to see
Mhm.
what her availability will be going forward.
Yeah.
Sure, sounds good. Thanks.
Okay.
Well, just in addition to the EVs, this whole Boulder County thing sounds like a blank sheet for ideas, for new proposals for next year. So
Yeah.
we should come up with something.
So we should have that on the agenda for our discussion next month, would be grant ideas.
I think that'd be great.
Mhm.
Okay.
So come with ideas.
Yes.
Come with ideas.
Come with ideas.
$15,000, is that what you said?
Yeah,
Up
there are
to
$15,000 for the sustainability grants, and they're less for the zero waste grants. I want to say 1 to 5,000, something like that.
The zero waste, where are we with like the trash can replacements in the town?
We had, I think, Karen and I were talking about this the other day, and I talked about the map. I want to say we had 198 trash cans, something like that, and most of the places that are the most frequently used, all the community and regional park areas had already been switched There are still a few of the small kind of trail areas or smaller green space areas that had landfill only that are left to switch out.
Is there anything we should?
Yes, at least paired. Some are 3 if there are places where there's food.
Are the
Is-
grants all capital grants?
The grants, like we've talked about in the past, are one-time grants, nothing that's ongoing. There's no operating support, and there is no, always the flip side of grants is it's great to have one-time free, nominally free money, but the requirement for the match, and then also for installation, and then also anything that has an ongoing element would have to be taken on and borne by the town's general fund, whether that's staff or maintaining a machine or a piece of equipment or a physical improvement in town. So that's the flip side of the grant.
Should we discuss at a future meeting about, is there anything to discuss about the new downtown area and the waste receptacles in that area? Or are they just kind of putting in dual or triple containers by default? Or do you have any idea?
The ordinance, the trash and recycling ordinance requires that for all commercial.
Perfect.
And
Okay, cool.
then all the trash cans that are in public space are included in the development plans that have come to the board, and they all have
Perfect.
depending on where they are. If they're parks, then they're going to have, if they have food, they'll have the 3-hole
Mhm.
and the 2-hole for the neighborhood parks.
Okay,
Great.
cool, thanks.
30% less contamination compared.
And that was an element that this committee supported through the town center's original approval in 2013.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. We can adjourn officially since we had quorum.